Welcome back to Briggs on Books. I'm Mike Briggs, the host of the show. We're an international talk show. Can you believe it? We were born out of COVID when we couldn't have live guests on our talk show anymore. We had to figure out another way, so we started doing Zoom calls, and we've grown into this international talk show where we talk to authors from all over the world. By the way, are you about to pick your next book? You better check this one out, Teddy and Bera. We got another book to show you too. Besides the books, we also have the author here. Let's see if I can find him. He's coming in live to us from, I don't know, Minnesota. Welcome, welcome, Will. Can you hear us okay? Are you in Minnesota?
I hear you fine.
You're somewhere in Minnesota.
Minneapolis.
Minneapolis, yeah. Now, by the way, we're going to get into these books, and you have a whole bunch of books. How many total now?
11.
11. Wow. Are they all set or have something to do with Minneapolis or Minnesota?
Some of them, it's all, I call the series Americana.
Yeah.
And it's all historical fiction mostly.
Yeah.
All over the country, but a lot in Minnesota.
Well, I tell you, Will, I can't read all the books of all the authors that are on the show, but I love historical fiction and I love Americana, so that's where we'll start. Tell us about, which book do you want to talk about first?
Well, my latest is The Packard Salesman.
Okay, here's the cover for our viewers, The Packard Salesman. Tell us about it, Will.
Well, it's the story of one fellow's guilt, mostly. Back in 1924, there was a mine collapsed up in northern Minnesota. And he got out alive, but he was the last one to get out alive, having pushed his girlfriend's father aside so he could get to the ladder first. And so that's eats away at him throughout the whole book. Mm-hmm. And he takes off to find a job working on Mount Rushmore.
That's his dream. That's his dream
team.
To work on Mount Rushmore?
What's that?
That's his dream, to work on Mount Rushmore?
Well, it's a way to get out of northern Minnesota and leave the past behind himself. Yeah. And he doesn't even get out of Minnesota before he's carjacked by Babyface Nelson.
Oh, my goodness.
And they have a wild ride all the way through South Dakota and into Wyoming before Ike Savage is the name of the main character. He finally slams on the brakes and sends Babyface into the windshield and escapes. The gun went off that Babyface was holding on him, and he caught it in the elbow. Mm. So after a certain amount of rehab and whatnot, he's in Montana seeing a specialist. And on the train out there, he meets a woman who lands him a job in a Montana college. While he was recuperating, it was big news that Babyface Nelson had stolen this guy's car. And there were newspaper stories, and he also wrote a story, which ended up in the literary magazine. And so he goes to work at this college and sets up a writers group there. And all the while he's reading John Steinbeck's first novel, Cup of Gold. And when he gets the magazine he was published in, he sees that John Steinbeck is in the same magazine. So circumstances send him further west, and he decides to visit John Steinbeck in Monterey. Mm. And things go on from there, and suddenly he gets a letter from Hollywood, from RKO Studio, story into a movie.
Mm. Wow.
And the last half of the book is in Hollywood dealing with all that, and a rather large population of Nazis that were in LA at the time.
So it covers a lot. It's a very period book. Are all of your books really from a period in the past?
Yeah.
Yeah. And also there's iconic imagery like the Packard. Just when I saw the cover and it said the Packard salesman, the Packard. I remember what a great old car. So now listen, let's touch on Teddy and Barra. This is a fascinating story too. Also, does it start in Minneapolis?
It actually starts in the exact during that mine collapse I was talking about before. And Teddy's name is listed among the dead after they sort through everything, but he managed to escape out a tunnel in the back of the mine that nobody knew about. And his childhood was not very good in this town. He had an abusive father and a brother who was a crook, and he had to lie for his brother all the time. He saw this as an opportunity just to keep going. So he escapes the mine and the town, ends up in Minneapolis. This is in 1924, and gets a job in a speakeasy mopping floors. And ultimately, he gets taken into St. Paul by the bouncer at the speakeasy. It's his 18th birthday, so he takes him to a brothel. And in the brothel, he meets Vera, who's also celebrating her 18th birthday. And neither of them wants to be in this brothel. Yeah. Neither of them are prepared for this situation at all. And they realize that, and nothing happens. But in the morning, they find out that the bouncer has been found floating in the Mississippi. And they decide that they inherited this Model T that he had. And unbeknownst to them, there was a secret hidden inside the Model T. And they get chased all over the Midwest, not knowing what they have in the car.
These are fantastic stories. I love this story.
And what they do to get out of Minneapolis is Barra was hiding out in this old theater. And so they started playing around with the makeup and made themselves up as clowns. And it worked out for them. And they kept being clowns all the way down through Iowa, decided to take a left into Chicago and try out the Cubs games, performing for the walk-up crowd and nickels and dimes into a hat.
They became street performers.
Yep. Wow. And they got too big for their own good, as it turned out.
Now, you said how many books? 14 books?
What's that?
How many books do you have out?
11.
11 books. That's quite that's prolific. You're prolific, Will. And
you know, it's just a matter of I write every day and I shoot for 400 words a day.
400 words a day. And do you start at a set time every day, or is it varied?
Yeah, 9, 10 o'clock.
9 or 10 o'clock, you sit down and say...
2 or 3.
Now, do you do most of the writing at the keyboard, or do you do most of the writing in your head?
Well, a lot in my head, yeah, but keyboard, longhand is long since passed.
Yeah. And I guess we have a lot of viewers who are working on their first book. And there's literally millions of potential authors out there who are just trying to get through one. And that's why I like to ask your process. And 400 words a day, and that's a good goal. And you probably hit that and go over it sometimes, I'd imagine.
Oh, yeah. I've gotten to 1,000.
Yeah. I bet it's hard to stop sometimes when you get on a roll.
And I've been stuck at 100 sometimes, but I sit there, I do a lot of research.
Yeah.
So some days there's more research than writing, but.
Yeah, I could picture that from, going from Minneapolis, ending up in Hollywood, dates, times, and eras. You got to keep everything straight.
Yeah, I don't keep an outline, but I keep a timeline.
A timeline.
Yeah.
That's neat. That's good. That's a neat way
I
to do it.
mean, I start with, in this case, both of them were the same mine collapse.
Hmm.
And then I just let them go from then on, and
Yeah.
wish them good luck.
Of course, the mining collapse was a real event, I would imagine.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was wiped out all the men in the whole area.
Wow. Now, by the way, Will, I do have your uh, blog on the screen, willtinkham.blogspot.com. What would our viewers find there if they go to that, visit that?
They will find a very old blog where nothing, I don't believe you can follow it anymore. And I don't think you can leave comments anymore. I did put other places people could contact me at the top if
Okay.
they need anything. And I really haven't been very attentive to it. I
Will,
glad,
I would imagine you've got another book coming up.
yep,
The same Americana series?
yep. Is this one back in what, 1944, December of 1944, there was a prison break of 25 Nazis out of a Arizona prison camp,
Yeah.
which I read about it years ago and have never figured out how to fit it in anywhere. And I just decided to start with that. 25 guys escaped all at once. And in a month's time, they rounded up all 25 of them.
Mm.
So I just added a 26th one who never got caught and let him go about his way.
Yeah. Now, I guess I didn't realize that, or I guess I probably heard it that the United States did bring Nazi prisoners to.
Yeah, there were prison camps all over the
There were.
country.
Okay, I did
I
not
was
know that.
amazed.
Wow. And at the end of the war, did they all get shipped back, or did
Yeah, for the most part, I
for the
think.
most part? Yeah. This is fascinating. You're a fascinating writer, and I can't imagine you have to do so much research and keep so many things straight. I can't wait to jump into these books. And like I say, I wish I could read every book by every author I have, but this one has touched me because I'm a historian. I love history and I love historical fiction, and I will read them. So thank you, Will. Any last thoughts for our viewers about your books or about you, or anything else you want to say?
I'm sorry, a truck just went by.
That's right. I just want to give you a chance to have some last thoughts. Any last thoughts you want to share with our viewers?
Well, I have a question for you. I was watching earlier interviews
Yes.
that you've done, and at one point you said that you have people who go around looking for interesting writers.
Yeah, our producers do that.
And I was wondering, how the heck did you find me?
I'm not sure. Did they find you on Instagram or on LinkedIn or something like that?
Oh, yeah, I got a message on LinkedIn.
Yeah. There's a lot of authors on LinkedIn. I mean, millions, but I
Yeah,
only want the
I'm finding that
interesting
out.
one, and that's you, Will. You're one of the interesting ones. So, and your books are interesting too.
I'm very glad to be one of the interesting ones.
All right. And for our viewers, if you want to get on the show, go to our CentralValleyTalk.com/Briggs on books, and you'll find out how to get on the show. Will got on, and we're very happy you did, Will.
I'm very happy too. Thank you very much.
All right. And for our viewers, don't go anywhere. We'll be back with another author right after this.